Hi guys, Mark McKillier here with Live Anabolic, and today I want to talk to you about how to train without getting really sore for 3 days or longer, okay? And I'm talking mainly to the older guys, over 40. That seems young to me. I'm 63, but it just goes without saying that now that we're older, it's much easier to overtrain and feel really sore for days and days, and then you end up regretting it, and then you don't want to work out again, and then you end up giving up. Today's video is going to talk about how to avoid that, especially coming back after being off. Now, for guys that are working out on a regular basis, this doesn't really pertain to you. If you're doing it consistently, then you're never going to get, really sore for 3 days. Okay. Your body is already used to it. But for guys that are just starting for the first time ever, or same category, guys that haven't touched a weight or gone to the gym in a year or longer, you guys are really considered total beginners, and your body has forgotten everything, and it's going to get really sore. And then you got another category, which I fall into on a regular basis, and that is people who've laid off for a short time, 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever. So how do we get back into training and avoid being sore for days and then basically just stopping and giving up because it just sucks? All right, let's start with the case where you've been working out and you got in really good shape, and then for whatever reason, you laid off. You might have gotten injured, or you might have gotten sick, or work might have gotten really hectic and you just couldn't get to the gym for a while. You might have gone on a long vacation, all kinds of reasons. And then so we're going to break it into two categories: the short time off, say 2 weeks, and then the longer, more intermediate length of time off, say 2 months. So this is how I do it, okay? Because I encounter both of these situations, once or twice a year. So let's say that I've only been off for 2 weeks. It could have been an injury or just being sick with COVID or something. It doesn't matter. The way I get back into it is I typically think 80%, okay? And when I say 80%, I'm talking about 80% of the normal weight I would use on any particular exercise. And I'm going to use 100 pounds a lot here, just generically, because that's a real easy number to deal with mathematically, right? So let's say I was doing 100 pounds on whatever exercise, and I've only been off 2 weeks. That's not real long, but it's long enough for your muscles to atrophy and start losing strength. You'd be surprised. So my first week back, I'm only going to go 80%. I'm going to, instead of lifting 100 pounds on that exercise, I'm going to go with about 80 pounds. And then not only that, my intensity level is only going to be about 80 percentile. So as I'm lifting that 80 pounds, okay, which is a lot less than the 100 pounds I normally do, I'm not going to go to failure. I'm not even going to go one rep from failure. I want to stop with at least 2 or 3 reps in reserve. So let's say I could have done that 80 pounds, 11 reps. I want to stop at around rep number 8, knowing that I got probably 3 more reps in me. So I just don't want to push it that hard. Keep the intensity, 80% of the maximum that you would normally be doing. And then on top of that, that's the intensity level and the amount of weight we're doing. Now we need to talk about volume. Same thing with the volume. And with volume, I'm talking about total number of sets for each muscle group, okay? You might be working 2 or 3 muscle groups, all right? So for each muscle group, only do about 80% of the number of sets that you normally would do. So let's say you normally do 5 sets of curls. 80% of that would be 4 sets. It doesn't have to be perfect. It might be 70% or 85%, but pick a number volume-wise that's modestly lower than your normal volume that you would have done in that workout for that particular muscle group. So that's how I start the first week, and then the next week back, I still don't go 100%. I go up to about 90%. Same mentality. 90% of the weight, 90% intensity, and 90% of the total volume. And then your third week back, that's when you guys can go as hard as you want, and you shouldn't be sore if you work your way back into it like that. What happens when you've been off a longer time, say 2 months, all right? That's going to happen to a lot of guys that have more serious injuries, And that applies to a lot of guys that really get crazy busy at work or with family type problems. Okay. You're off for 2 months. Now you're going to be really sore if you get back into it and push it very hard. I mean, really sore. All right. That's the 3-4 days of soreness that we're trying to avoid. So here we go. This is what I do. Now, this doesn't happen to me that often, being off that long, but it does. I mean, I had heart surgery a couple of years ago, and just things happen. So when I get back into it, the first week, all right, I go with roughly 60% of the normal working weight. So instead of 100 pounds, on whatever exercise, I would do 60 pounds. And I only push that each set to, 60 or 70%, okay, that I normally would. So instead of doing 10 reps, I would stop at maybe 6, all right? Pretty easy. So we're using a much lighter weight, and I'm stopping way before I get to failure with that lighter weight. And then, of course, I still, with the volume, I don't do nearly as many sets, all right? And because if you push it just a little hard, you're going to be surprised how sore you get. Even though you're using much lighter weight, it's easy to overdo it. And I just kind of gradually work my way back into it. And so I don't take 2 months to work back into where I was before. But if I've been off for 2 months, I just mentally know it's going to take me probably 4 weeks to get back to where I'm pushing myself really hard. And even then, after 4 weeks, I probably won't be back to 100% strength. But I'll be back, and my body will have adjusted enough after a month that I can push myself as hard as I want without getting crazy sore. I'm still not going to be as strong. It's going to take me 2 full months to get back to my full strength, but I can still push myself really hard. I can go to, failure or 1 rep from failure without getting crazy sore for several days. All right, now let's cover the third and last case, and that's guys that are just total beginners, or maybe you've worked out, for years and years and years, but you've taken a full year off or 2 years off or 3 years off. Basically, you're starting almost from scratch, okay? You guys really need to take it easy to avoid that crazy soreness. What I'm about to tell you, I actually incorporated in my Fit After 50 program, because a lot of guys that bought my program were total complete beginners or hadn't touched a weight in years, maybe decades. And this is the way I want you to hit it, okay? I want you to do full body workouts. This may sound crazy at first, but wait till I tell you the details. All right? So when I say full body workout, I mean I want you to hit every single muscle group in your body. But because we're doing so many different muscle groups, okay, and we're going to do 1 exercise for each muscle group, that kind of adds up, right? So we're not going to do many sets per muscle group, and we're not going to do very heavy weight, and we're not going to push it to failure. And on top of that, I want you to try doing it circuit style. When you break up the muscle groups in your body, I typically break it up into 6, 7, maybe 8 different muscle groups. And you got chest, back, shoulders, biceps, triceps, core, legs. And legs could really be broken into 2 groups, quadriceps, and hamstrings. So it just kind of depends on how much time you have and how do you want to break it up. But I would do 1 exercise for my chest, and don't push it real hard. Use a pretty light weight. Just use really good form. Try to get that mind-muscle connection, and then stop way before failure. I would say shoot for 10 reps, all right, when you could really do 15 reps with that particular weight. So that's pretty easy, right? So you do 1 set for your chest, put the weight down, catch your breath for a minute or so, then do a completely different muscle group. Let's say a back. You pick whatever exercise for your back. Same thing. You do 1 set, relatively lightweight, stop at 10 reps, even though you could have easily done 15. Catch your breath. Do the next muscle group until you've done every muscle group in your body, right? So that's either 6, 7, or 8 different exercises. That's 1 circuit. Catch your breath for a minute or 2. Start all over again. Do another circuit. So do about 3 circuits. Don't do more than 3 circuits. But basically what you're doing is you're waking up all those muscles, and you're waking up your central nervous system, because you really haven't been pushing your central nervous system hard if you haven't been really doing heavy resistance training, all right? So you're just trying to wake things up. So this is even though it's a lot of different exercises and it's a lot of sets total, the intensity was pretty light. And we didn't hit any one muscle group with more than 3 sets. So that muscle really didn't get stressed. It got used. We woke it up. All right. Those muscle fibers all of a sudden are being used, for the first time in years, but you didn't overdo it and you won't get real sore. Now, what you can do is you don't have to wait a whole week before you do that again. You might just wait 2 or 3 days before you do that full body workout. So that's a great way to work your way into a resistance training program. And in my Fit After 50 program, I have you do that style of training the entire phase 1, which is about 4 weeks. And I tell people, if you can't get through all 3 circuits during, phase 1, continue for another couple of weeks or so before you can kind of get through that workout without just being totally gassed and moving on in phase 2. All right, so there you go, guys. Several different ways to work out without feeling sore for days. Remember, being a little sore is actually a good thing. It's called delayed onset muscle soreness, or it's DOMS. And when you just got that kind of mild muscle soreness for, say, a day after, your workouts, that's a great feeling. That means you actually accomplished something. You actually broke down those muscle fibers and you got some inflammation. That inflammation triggers your body to ramp up testosterone production and to start repairing those muscle fibers. And of course, what it does is those muscle fibers come back just a tiny bit bigger and stronger than they were before. Your body's really smart. You do that enough times, and then of course that's how we build muscle and strength. So I actually like that soreness. It's hard to feel that soreness when you've been working out consistently for a while. And typically I don't feel particularly sore except after a really good workout where I push myself harder than I normally do. And then I'll feel sore for like a day or two, but it's not an uncomfortable sore. It's just kind of it makes me feel like I accomplished something, okay? And so that's what we're really looking for, guys. And then, of course, you stick with it long enough, you won't feel sore anymore. That's kind of where I am, and that's where a lot of you are right now that are watching. So it's easy to work your way back into shape as long as you just kind of stick with it, guys, and never give up on yourself.